Well, so hopefully in this little 2 to 3 minute speech, I can tell you if you're going to be in Mr. Wade's class next semester, uh, kind of what to expect, and uh, depending on the context of what the class looks like. Of course, the class is I spent half of the semester in an online class, and then the second half in the first half of the semester at least in the face-to-face format of the class. So of course there is a lot different there, but let me kind of give you some information to kind of tell you some good advice depending on what context you're going to be in the class. So for both online and face to face. So for face to face, what I will say is this: I've been a public speaker for, to be quite honest with you, most of my life. I did speech and things like that all through high school up until first year of college, and then you know retired, and I'm going into a career in which public speaking will be a big part of what I do. Something that I learned is it's a lot different from just being up on the stage as an individual. Um, it's a lot different from doing that to being in an active dialogue with another person. So there's a different way that you have to act. There's a different flow that a presentation goes depending on how your partner is doing, how they're addressing your arguments, how well their constructive was, and also depending, really, it's also a matter of rhetoric too. Are they funny? Are they getting across the audience in a way that is relatable and that is interesting and that is keeping them engaged? Because if they're doing that right, that can actually make weak arguments look really strong. So you need to make sure that you're engaging your audience just as well as they are, and if not better. So that's something that you have to really pay attention to. And there is the competitive aspect of it. I got a little sour the first few times we debated because I was not winning, and that made me a bit upset. But you need to understand that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is developing a good argument and developing good counter arguments and poking holes in the logic and the thought process that goes on. It's a lot less about the winning. It's a lot less even so much about the presentation, because at the end of the day, like I said, there are times in which bad arguments can, through rhetoric, through the ability to engage the audience, can sound a lot better than really good arguments. And if you go online, you can see many examples of that, I think, especially in the online internet debates. So I guess those are the two things I would tell you regarding the class and the face-to-face format from a speaking perspective. Also, I would say just be. I put this in the online reflection, but I also say just be very careful about passion and about your anger. Because it can be it can really be taken in the wrong direction in a class like this. If you take it in the online format, let me just share this really quickly. Just be sure that you're staying on top of things. Be sure that you're keeping a good correspondence between you and your instructor. And really the most important thing is this: if you're going to be taking it online classes kind of go like this. If you want to get something out of the class, it's open and free to you. So if you're keeping up with all your assignments, if you're listening to all the videos and lectures, if you're having a good correspondence with your professor, you're going to get something out of this class. If not, you can probably get by. You can probably even pass or make a B, maybe even an A, just doing things at the last second, but you won't get as much out of the class. You need to also make sure that you're making time for your assignments. So if you're doing things the day of, that's not good, because then you have less room for mistakes if you had, given yourself a few more days prior. Really, there's probably one more thing I want to say, and that is something along the lines of, goodness, you know what, and I know this is going too long, Mr. Wade, but it just slipped out of my mind. You might not watch this whole thing. Let me just say, goodness, maybe it wasn't that important, because if I can't think of it right now, maybe it was not something that was that important to say. But yeah, I just say that if you're taking the online class, make sure that you're keeping up with things and doing things right, that you're keeping a good correspondence. Oh, questions during lectures. I am a person who likes to ask questions during lectures. That element is gone, possibly, if we don't do an online semester. Maybe if we do it through Zoom, but we might not do that. We might just do YouTube video lectures. Get your professor's phone number if you do have any questions, or if you want to engage in dialogue about the class, because that's something that I really miss this semester. Is usually I do like to ask questions during a lecture, and I really like the conversations that we were having as a class with the professor during the face-to-face portion. That was pretty much completely gone once we went online, and then also, of course, the office hours portion is gone too, which is really sad, because I like to sometimes engage with the class more in that context of one-on-one conversations with a professor, and sort of ask the more specific questions, and just kind of understand how I'm doing from their perspective, and also kind of ask them what I should be getting out of the class. So that's missing. So you need to try to get your professor's phone number so that you can still have some sort of questions and conversation with them. That's it. Peace.